I was a 15-year-old boy and I had a girlfriend. Now, this wasn't my first girlfriend, but it was the first girlfriend that was willing to do, hey, you guys know what I mean, right? She was willing to do it. So me being a 15-year-old boy with a super high libido, a testosterone level through the roof, I was super excited that I was finally going to do it for the first time. I was super excited about the fact that this girl was my girlfriend. Now, she wasn't just willing to do it, but for some reason she let me know through Amazon chat and from other people that she was an absolute freak and she was willing to do things that most adult women don't want to do. And so I don't know how she got these things into her mind, why she wanted to do these things, but hey, that's beside the point. Me being a 15-year-old boy, I think you can relate to me that with a 15-year-old testosterone level, I was super, super excited and I couldn't wait to actually start doing these things with her, right? I mean, hey, do you blame me? I was a 15-year-old boy. That's all you think about at that age, right? So I was super excited. There came a night when we were home alone. My parents weren't home. The moment was finally there. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I want to make sure that this video doesn't get demonetized, and also I'm not really sure about the legality of discussing teenage romances. But hey, you guys get the point. The moment was there. It was about to happen. My body was filled with adrenaline. I was super excited. And you know what happened? I couldn't get it up. The moment was there. I was about to lose my virginity. The time had come, but I struggled to perform. And I instantly knew, and this is the worst part, I instantly knew that the reason that I couldn't get it up is because I had watched too much porn. Because I knew that when I watched porn, I noticed this while I was watching porn, that the things that I watched had gotten more specific over time, and that I started to need these specific things to get aroused, and that if I would click on any random video, I wouldn't really get aroused, and often I couldn't even get an erection anymore. So I had sort of brainwashed myself, I had reconditioned myself to become dependent on specific categories. Now, they were relatively mild at first. It was like, I think it was like amateur and MILF and big ass or something. You know, like the relatively mild categories like MILF and stepsister or something. The stuff that people watch, right? But my preferences started to become so specific that I had to watch these videos. And if it wasn't one of these videos, if it wasn't one of my current flavors of the month, I couldn't get it up. And so I made the connection and I thought myself, hey, wait a second. If I struggle to get it up from any random video, if a random girl doing sexy things in a video doesn't arouse me anymore, then maybe this is also the reason why I struggle to get it up from a real person. Because a real person isn't the same as my current flavor of the month fetish. And things got even worse when I was a bit older. Because I had this phase in my life where I started to watch even more porn because there weren't any girls in my life and all I did was just isolate myself, play World of Warcraft and eat junk food, basically. That was my life. When I was a teenager, I was relatively lucky that I was attractive enough and some girls were into me and I ended up having some girlfriends. But in my late teens and early 20s, I wasn't that lucky anymore because I just isolated and neglected myself. And so I had this big phase where there were absolutely no girls in my life. And so from my current knowledge of what porn does to you, I had no reason to not watch porn, right? Because I wasn't having sex, so I watched a lot of porn. And the preferences that I had became even more specific. So specific that they developed into like actual fetishes. You know, like the very kinky stuff that makes you question what you're doing and makes you feel ashamed of yourself. So before it was relatively mild, you know, it's MILF, big ass, stuff like that. It's specific stuff that you need, but it's not very, very kinky fetish stuff. But the more porn I started to watch, I noticed that my preferences became more and more specific until I started to watch stuff that really made me feel ashamed of myself. Made me feel really bad. And not only Was this affecting my sexual performance? Now again, I didn't actually have sex at that age, but I am 100% sure that if I would have sex at that age, that I would have the same problem as when I was 15 years old, but then 100 times worse. I'm very sure that I wouldn't have been able to get it up. But not only did it affect my sexual performance, but having these actual fetishes started to really affect my confidence as well. Because you question what you're doing, right? And you start to think of yourself as some kind of a freak. You start to lose your confidence because of it. Because you're watching weird shit, right? And I guess I was always realistic enough to understand that I had conditioned myself into these fetishes by watching more and more porn and going deeper and deeper into the fetishes. But at the same time, it made me feel like shit. It made me feel horrible. But it got even worse than that. Because I didn't know it back then. But watching a lot of porn, also really numbs a thing called dopamine. It numbs your dopamine system. And your dopamine system is the thing that drives your life's reward and motivation systems, right? You might have heard about this before. Now, I didn't know it back then that it was called dopamine. But I definitely recognized myself in the symptoms of having a numb dopamine system. I had no motivation to work towards my goals. I wasn't really having a lot of fun doing the fun things in my life anymore. And when I tried to do something that was productive, I did not really get that sense of satisfaction where I felt proud of myself and I felt like keep doing something productive. All that I think about is just, I can't wait till I can quit doing this productive thing and I can start up the video games again. But when I started up the video games again, I wasn't actually having that much fun. My whole life became kind of like a semi-depressed existence. And so if I think back about it right now, porn was affecting my life on so many different levels. It was literally ruining my life. I had no motivation to work towards my goals. Even the fun things in my life weren't fun anymore. I couldn't get my dick up if I were to try it with a real person. I couldn't even get my dick up from a random porn video, but I need to watch these very specific kinky fetish things. And because of that, I had a very negative self-image and I had no confidence at all. It literally ruined my life without really realizing it. And it was sort of by accident that I discovered what can happen to your life if you quit porn. Because there came a point in my life where I started to play online poker. I thought that would be a good idea because I was used to grinding video games all day, right? And now I could grind poker and hopefully make some money and I could do it in the comfort of my own home and I didn't have to get a job and interact with other people, right? So I felt like that would be like a good life decision for me to make at that point in my life. I started to play online poker and as sort of a side effect of playing poker so much, because I was really hardcore when it comes to poker, I ended up just not fapping it to porn that much anymore. And I discovered that if I didn't do it for like a week or 2 weeks, the faps that I would have were actually much better than the faps I had when I'd fap every day. And it was not just the fact that it felt better physically, you know, the actual physical sensation, but I also noticed that even after like not doing it for 2 weeks, that I didn't really need to watch the hardcore fetish stuff anymore. But I could just see a random attractive girl and that attractive girl would actually turn me on and I could fap to just the fantasy or an image of an attractive girl and I'd actually have a better fap than the faps that I would have to the hardcore fetish stuff when I was a porn addict. And so not only was this a better physical sensation to have, but it was also a much better mental experience because it made me feel a lot better about myself and it made me feel a lot more confident about what I was doing. I was sort of resetting my sexuality. I actually felt like a healthy, normal human male again. And as sort of a side effect of that, of only fapping once every 2 weeks or something, I also started to notice that whenever I did start fapping again, and keep in mind that when I say I did start fapping again, it wasn't just once that I'd do it after 2 weeks, but it was more like several days where I do it like all day long, or at least several times a day, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Most of us have probably experienced that. I noticed that when I had these days where I was fapping all the time again, that I didn't really have the motivation or the energy to grind on poker all day long. I started to feel less confident. I started to have less fun in the things that I did. I started to sort of fall back into the same feeling that I had before when I was in like the lowest lows in my life. And then I discovered that whenever I quit watching porn again for 2 weeks, or sometimes even longer, because I noticed that it made me feel good, so I did it for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, several months sometimes. I noticed that when I quit watching porn, I started to feel really, really good again. My motivation to work towards my goals returned. The fun that I had in life returned. I could get satisfaction from doing productive things again. I felt confident. I felt good about myself. Everything in my life that I'd been missing for so long had sort of returned to me because I quit watching porn. Porn was holding me back on so many different ways, and I didn't really fully realize it all that time. And after a while, the nofap videos started to become a thing on YouTube. And I saw them and I thought, yes, that is me. That is exactly what happened to me. And I knew that it was true, and I knew that it wasn't some sort of a placebo effect, because I had actually experienced all of these things without ever hearing about them. I'd never heard about the word nofap. I'd never seen a nofap video. I sort of just accidentally discovered all of these effects myself. And so now I had this confirmation that I wasn't alone, that there are many other people who have experienced this. But porn can really, really mess your life up. It's going to differ from person to person. I'm not saying that what happened to me is happening to everyone. You might not be as affected by porn as I was. But there are countless of other people in the world who've experienced the exact same thing as I have experienced. If you watch too much porn, this shit can happen to you. The good news is, and that's why I'm creating this video, to give you some hope, the good news is that if you quit watching it, these effects can reverse. And you can get back all of the things that you're missing right now. You can get back that motivation. You can get back that fun that you get out of life. You can get back your confidence. And you can get back your erection quality. Oh, by the way, guys, that story from when I was 15 years old, I didn't tell you guys yet, but I quit watching porn, obviously, because I knew that it was porn. And it took me like 2 weeks, and then it worked again. Now, I might have been lucky that I was young and that my mind wasn't that corrupted yet, that my fetishes were relatively mild. But yeah, back then, with the brainwashing that I had done so far at that age, it took me about 2 weeks, and it was diamonds again. And I had a pretty fun time with that girl, as you can imagine. But that's not the point of this video. I'm not trying to brag about a girlfriend that I had when I was 15. The point of this video is to, well, I guess warn you what can happen. Again, can happen. I'm not saying this is happening to everyone right now, but what can happen if you watch too much porn. This has happened to me, and it's happening to a lot of other guys. And to also give you some hope that if you are already experiencing these effects, that they can go away if you quit watching porn. And things are going to be okay again. Okay? Now, if you struggle to quit porn, because there is a lot that you can say about quitting porn, it's easier said than done. I mean, it's not hard when you know how to do it, but yeah, you know, a lot of guys struggle with it. I've struggled with it myself as well. I know what it's like. So if you're struggling with it right now, I have a free community on Skool called the Reclaim Your Life community. Now, in this community, you'll get access to a free quitting porn mini course. I hope that that course teaches you something that you didn't know yet that can really help you ahead. I personally think that it really sort of addresses the problem of why so many people struggle to quit. I mean, of course, I personally think that because I created the course myself. But yeah, the idea of the course is to help you understand why so many people struggle to quit and what the things are that you really need to do if you really want to quit and finally break free from this addiction. Now, in this community, you don't just get access to that course, but you get access to other mini courses as well. And there's also a discussion section where you can make a post and ask for advice. And there's a fair chance that I'll reply to that post myself. So hey, if you need more help, head over to the community. Link is right below this video. And I guess I'll see you boys in the next video.